Welcome to Echoes of Faith, where stories of hope, resilience, and grace inspire us to find the light in every challenge. In today's story, we walk alongside Jake, a firefighter whose spirit has been worn down by years of loss and hardship. But when a daring rescue puts him face to face with a life he didn't expect to save, Jake discovers that even when the flames seem too fierce, faith can spark hope in the darkest of times.
Jake Carter, a firefighter in his early 40s, sat silently, gazing out the window of the fire station. His face, though still strong, bore the lines of years filled with service, loss, and fatigue. Jake wasn't always this way. 15 years ago, he had been the first to run into a burning building, confident and full of hope. But after a decade and a half of battling blazes that took homes, families, and lives, the flame of hope within him had slowly burned out. Each alarm that blared, each fire he faced, felt like a reminder of his limitations and the lives he couldn't save. While his colleagues laughed and joked around him, preparing for the day ahead, Jake felt like an outsider. The weight of his uniform felt heavier with each passing day, and the burden of memories, of those he had lost, seemed almost unbearable. Suddenly the station alarm blared, jolting him from his thoughts. With a mix of instinct and resignation, he donned his helmet, geared up, and jumped onto the truck. The call was for a large fire in a downtown building. By the time they arrived, thick smoke billowed into the sky, engulfing the structure. The chaos was immediate. Sirens wailed and shouts filled the air as flames roared like a living beast, hungry for destruction. But today was different. Today, Jake was about to confront a fire that would reignite a flicker of hope he thought had long been extinguished. The blaze was worse than anyone had anticipated. Jake led his team through the wreckage, but as they navigated the chaos, he heard something, a faint cry from the upper floors. "Did you hear that?" Jake shouted to his team, urgency surging within him. They shook their heads, focused on their tasks, but he heard it again, a child's voice. Without hesitation, Jake sprinted toward the stairwell, taking the steps two at a time, even as flames and smoke closed in around him. His heart pounded, not just from the exertion, but from the fear of what he might find. Reaching the 5th floor, he burst through a door, his flashlight cutting through the choking haze of smoke. There, in the corner of the room, huddled under a table, was a little girl, no older than 6, clutching a stuffed animal. Tears streaked her face, and her wide eyes reflected sheer terror. "There you are," Jake whispered, kneeling beside her and wrapping her in his jacket. "It's okay. I'm going to get you out of here." But even as he spoke, a shadow of doubt crept into his mind. It had been so long since he believed in anything, especially himself. As the fire raged around them, he lifted the girl into his arms and turned to escape. But when he reached the stairwell, his heart sank. The stairs had collapsed. Panic surged within him. The heat was unbearable, the smoke suffocating. He held the girl close, her face buried in his shoulder, and for a moment all hope seemed lost. Then Jake looked into her eyes. Despite the chaos, she trusted him. In that moment, he saw a glimmer of something he thought he had lost. Hope. It was small, but it was enough. He couldn't let her down. He wouldn't. Jake scanned the area, searching for another way out. Spotting a fire escape door, he kicked it open and rushed onto the rooftop. Flames still roared below, but a rescue helicopter hovered above, its searchlight piercing through the smoke. Waving his arms frantically, Jake signaled the helicopter. Moments later, a rescue basket was lowered. He secured the little girl inside. "You're going to be okay," he whispered as she ascended into the safety of the chopper. But as he watched her rise, he realized something profound. She wasn't the only one being saved that day. In rescuing her, he had unearthed a part of himself he thought was forever lost. A belief that even in the darkest moments, there is always hope. As the girl reached the helicopter, Jake's team arrived on the roof. They helped him down just as the building began to collapse behind them. Exhausted but alive, Jake sat on the curb, watching the smoke and flames finally die down. He had saved the little girl, but in a way she had saved him too. Later that day, as he sat by her hospital bed, her parents expressed their heartfelt gratitude. Yet Jake was lost in thought. For years he had carried the burden of those he couldn't save. But now he understood. He wasn't meant to carry that weight alone. In the following days at the fire station, Jake felt a change. The weight that once pressed down on him had lifted, just a little. He found himself joking with his colleagues again, smiling more, and even taking a moment to appreciate the sunrise that greeted him as he started each shift. In saving that little girl, Jake had rediscovered something within himself, a spark that had been smothered by years of doubt and despair. He didn't have all the answers, but for the first time in a long while, he believed that hope wasn't just for those he rescued. It was for him too. Sometimes it takes walking through the fire to find the light.
Thank you for joining us on this journey. Remember, no matter what fires we face, faith will always carry us through. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Be sure to leave a comment. Subscribe for more stories that inspire and uplift. This is Echoes of Faith, where every story brings hope. If today's story moved you, be sure to discover more heartfelt journeys in the Echoes of Faith series and uplift your spirit. Don't miss out on the next chapter. There's always more to uncover.